This video demonstration is going to talk to you guys about a few different ways to complete the line drawing techniques shading worksheet. So on the back, you actually get a cheat sheet. Yay! This is an example of how this can be completed. You do not have to do it this way. The first 6, though, you do need to do it that way. So it says use a different line technique to fill each of the 12 boxes. Invent your own techniques to fill the last 6 boxes. So on here, the first 6 say short dashes, which are just how it sounds, short dashes, hatching, which is kind of like short dashes, just usually they go, you can do them in a different direction. Cross hatching, which is lines going in different directions, like either X's or plus signs. Stippling, which is dots, wavy lines, and scribbles. And then you can make up the last ones as you want. So once you've completed that, you'll move on to number 2. It says use these techniques to apply tone to the geometric objects drawn to the right. Select your own light source. So on the cube, cone, cylinder, and spheres, you get to pick whatever ones you want. You do not need to do them the same way as the example. So what we're doing here is we are changing shapes into forms. Adding value will make something look more 3D and realistic. The big thing on this is to remember where your light source is coming from, because that's going to determine where it's light and dark. And then also where what's in the background. So don't just leave it blank like that top cone. You want to fill in everything so that it actually looks real. So you can see wherever it's supposed to be darker, they overlap it more, and like some of the patterns are tighter. So if you want it to look darker, think about overlapping and making whatever techniques tighter or like closer together. Next, we're going to look at number 3. It says connect the dots below with 3 straight lines. One very light, one mid-tone, and one very dark. So you're going to connect those dots. And that first one, you're going to do really light, and then you're going to go kind of a medium, and then you're going to go dark. All right, on to the next part here. This is the fun part where you actually get to do it. Yay! So I'm going to start with putting my name on it and your class period and your table number so that we don't lose them. Yay! We are going to start with that first one. So it says use different line techniques to fill each of the 12 small boxes. Invent your own techniques to fill the last 6. So that first one is short dashes. The next one's hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, which is dots, wavy lines, and scribbles. So you will copy that from the example on the back. After that, you get to pick your own. So I did like parenthesis shapes, I did letters, I did like a pattern, kind of like that plaid, but really close together. I did little squiggles, like S shapes, and then I did the C's, but in both directions, kind of like cross-hatching, but with parenthesis signs going both ways, and then I did circles. Moving on to number 2. So it says, use these techniques to apply tone to the geometric objects drawn to the right. Select your own light source. So with this, we need to really think about where is the sunlight hitting our object. It's the same thing in your self-portrait. You'll look at where is it dark, where is it light, and wherever the sun is, or the light source is hitting it, we got to look at what kind of transition is it as well. Is it a really quick one? Is it a smooth one? And so on here, wherever it's supposed to have a shadow, I am going to do my patterns more tightly together, and I'm also going to apply more pressure to my pencil. So I'm thinking about how hard should I push my pencil? Do I need to overlap? And I'm also really wanting to make sure that I fill in that background on those forms, because if you just do just the shapes, it's going to look kind of odd to have a blank background in table or whatever it's on. So on these forms, you can choose to mix up your different techniques. I kind of stayed the same on some of them, like the cube I did long dashes, and then I switched the sides, whereas the top I did dashes going in different directions. The background I chose to do different directions, but like looser. The bottom I did, again, different directions, but a little bit tighter than the background. Then the shadow, which is supposed to be very dark, I did cross-hatching, but very, very close. So all of them have straight lines, but look at the different type of techniques you can do using just straight lines. The next one on the cone, I did that C-shape type thing. The actual cone, I did different directions of those, like parenthesis signs or C-shapes, but where it's supposed to be dark, I really overlapped it, and I pushed harder with my pencil. And then I changed up the amount of pressure and the overlapping on the table versus the background, and same thing with that shadow. So really got to think about how close to put our patterns, how much to overlap them, as well as how hard to push on your pencil. Lastly, that cylinder, I did stippling, which I could probably go back and do more, but I just really like stippling. So those are going to be wherever it's darker. Again, same thing. I'm pushing on harder with my pencil, and I'm doing a lot more of them. Whereas where it's supposed to be lighter, I'm easing off and not doing nearly as many, so it kind of makes a nice fade. The background, I just did kind of like a plaid type of pattern, and then the table, I just did straight lines. And then the shadow, I did cross-hatching. Lastly, those spheres, these are fun. So on that first one, I did kind of as if I were to do a smooth technique, but I didn't blend it. So where that light source is hitting it at that top left, I kind of left blank. And then I really looked at like how it's going to transition. So it went kind of smooth. So I went medium to dark. And you can see on that side, I really went over it a lot of times. Same thing with the other two. I used letters for that one, whereas I overlapped them a bunch on that bottom part where the sun is like casting a shadow. And then same thing with the cross-hatching. And a lot of kids miss this one, but do not forget number 3, which is connect the dots below with 3 straight lines. One that's very light, one mid-tone, and one very dark. So here we're really practicing the way that we're holding our pencil and how much pressure we are applying. So do not forget this one. Also, make sure to go back and clean up your boxes. So have some respect for your work that you're doing. So go back in, take your eraser, any areas that were supposed to be lighter that maybe you went too dark on, erase that. You can draw by erasing. That will make more sense when it comes time to like doing hair and stuff, because sometimes we'll take our eraser and take like strands of hair out, and it's a type of drawing actually. But clean up these shapes so they look nice, and so you'll get maybe a better grade. Woo!